On Tuesday, May 14th, 2014, King Charles's first official portrait was unveiled. Painted by British artist Jonathan Yeo, the painting sparked immediate controversy over its abstract and unorthodox composition, with Twitter immediately memeing it into oblivion. Deep dish pizza, blood and gore. The right started hunting for demons within the painting, and the left said that the red represented the blood of colonialism or some like that, I don't know. The Bachelor of Fine Arts graduate in me loves the painting. I think it's a great painting. Chef's kiss. But the schizo in me sees something deeper. A piece of art that doesn't depict anything interesting, but rather represents something existential. A wave of government-sanctioned postmodern portraits that no longer represent might and prowess and power, but rather represent fragility and emotion. With all the chaos in the Western world now, it's clear to see there's less of a grip on society. Not just through governance, but through every aspect of our lives. The monoculture is sick, and this begs the question, do paintings like this represent our attitude towards state power? Look at his reaction here. Little jumpy, little skittish. Is that me? Oh, am I really that red? Oh, who the am I? In the painting, the artist Jonathan Yeo said he wanted to communicate King Charles's deep humanity, and that King Charles is extraordinary and unique. A bit of a glaze, but that's all right. Is a man not allowed a tasteful glaze? Can a man not have a tasteful glaze anymore? But what's really going on here? How do we read deeper into this painting? Let's look at some paintings of the last monarch, Queen Elizabeth II.
But first,
living in a rural town, I never thought I would be the target for scammers. But lately my phone's been going off with spam emails and texts.
Your package needs to be signed for. You owe money for duty feeds.
Some even claim that my credit card has been breached or that I owe taxes. I know what the area code is. It's the area code for a town in the middle of nowhere, and these people call me with the same area code as if Amazon has their customer service headquarters in Nova Scotia. But look, it's a serious problem. These scammers are getting more and more sophisticated, and nobody is immune. If you're online, you're at risk. That's why Aura, the sponsor of today's video, is such a crucial service to have. Aura is like a digital shield that protects you from these scammers and data brokers trying to constantly get their hands on your personal information. They alert you when your data is being sold on the dark web and automatically remove all your information from data brokers. With the recent AT&T breach, where 73 million customers had their data leaked, it's more important than ever to have this kind of protection. AT&T recommended that those affected use strong passwords, freeze their credit cards, and monitor their account activity. But Aura does this all for me. I don't even need to worry about it. Best of all, I don't have to worry about my data being compromised or juggling multiple apps. Aura is always on, giving me peace of mind. That's why I recommend heading over to aura.com/artchad to start your 2-week free trial. The link is also in the description below. Don't give these data brokers an inch. Protect yourself with Aura today. After winning the National Portrait Gallery's Portrait Award in 1991, Jonathan Mortimer was flung into success and began receiving many commissions for his work. Among those was a commission from the Royal Society of the Arts to paint a portrait of Queen Elizabeth to represent the 50th anniversary of their relationship together. But Mortimer's painting would not just be a stuffy royal portrait. No, he was gonna get a little postmodern with it. He was getting a little geeked up white boy with it, okay? Hence, he paints the Queen abstracted and beheaded. Mortimer did this because he wanted the subject to seem more human. Not just a painting of some, royalty, not just a painting of the Queen, but a painting of a real person, the way he would paint any subject who approached him with a commission. In 2012, the Royal Portrait Gallery commented on this, saying it fit the atmosphere of the time. People were asking, what is she for? What does she represent? We can also look at Lucian Freud's famous portrait of the Queen. Lucian Freud, the most famous living British artist at the time, ring ring, calls up the monarchy and says, hey, let me paint you. What resulted was the most famous painting of royalty in the 20th century. The Queen, with awful lighting, looking like she made a damn clay, and painted on a canvas smaller than a Falun Gong brochure. Although the painting had no royal or government commission tied to it, it still sparked controversy, as if commenting on the meta practice of royal portraiture. Why are we still doing this? Why are these people important? Why do I care? In similar fashion, the portrait of King Charles is begging the same questions. It turns out that red is a trigger color for almost everyone, especially given the somewhat meta endeavor that is royal portraiture, a representation of a representation made for posterity. State portraiture is perhaps the most famous art tradition for the last 500 years. Entrenched in history, symbolism, and allegory, a man could spend his entire life studying just this subject. Not me, but someone else. But as societal norms changes, many of these traditions become undone. Many of these archaic practices come into question. They start to become performative, almost as if authority itself is performative. All political institutions are manifestations and materializations of power. They petrify and decay as soon as the living power of the people ceases to uphold them. For better or for worse, we're experiencing a collective dissolution with power and authority. There isn't a single significant politician that garners any form of collective respect, even on the most fundamental levels. They're either memed, hated, laughed at, that, seen as madmen or seen as completely inconsequential. And the leaders that do have proponents have them in a hyper-real way. Ask a few Americans what they think of Donald Trump, and you'll receive such a drastically different series of events and opinions. It's as if we're all living in different timelines. This is Bill Clinton's official presidential portrait. It hangs in the National Portrait Gallery in the US. It's tasteful, it's delicate. He's even got a little bit of white boy swag to him. But what's this weird shadow over the mantle? That's an odd choice, isn't it? Guess what? It's Monica Lewinsky's dress. The same dress she wore that had a little bit of Bill Clinton's nut on it that they used to prove he had an affair with his secretary. That dress? I thought this was a conspiracy when I first read about it, but no, it's actually true. The artist confirmed that he snuck this into the painting. That's what that shadow is. It's the shadow of Monica Lewinsky's dress. He also painted Bill Clinton without a wedding ring. The painting is saying this isn't someone to be respected. This isn't somebody who is fundamentally different than the average person. This is a false idol, and this represents our attitude toward the concept of authority. The King Charles painting is doing a few things. Firstly, it's screaming at you. This guy, you know this guy? The king. This guy, you know he's big, he's red, everyone loves him. You should think about him. He's a really important person. Please don't forget about him. Secondly, it's showing that power and authority no longer stands on its own. It's no longer respected in its own right. If King Charles was culturally important and his importance was widely understood, then he would have gotten a normal painting because his power doesn't need to be flashy. The same way new money wears gaudy jewelry and drives a Lamborghini Urus, while old money drives beat up Mercedes and wears plain clothes. This is a man whose most significant career move thus far has been getting pancreatic cancer and will probably be remembered for dying of pancreatic cancer. I remember having a conversation with my dad, who was born in the late 50s, about January 6th. I took the whole thing as a gaffe. A bunch of boomers went on an unguided tour around the White House and nothing really happened or came of it. And I'll never forget the distress he had in his eyes when I told him this. He saw the whole thing as the most disrespectful act ever committed, appalled by people's behavior in the secrecy of the White House. He looked me in the eyes, he says to me, Art Chad, someone sat at Nancy Pelosi's desk and put their feet up. Doesn't that disgust you? It was then that I realized we live in different realities. I was raised in a world where you can and should question everything. And the only thing that separated me from authority was title and salary. He, on the other hand, respected power in its own right. He didn't need to be convinced. He didn't need to have it shoved down his throat. He accepted that these people are important and took it as a sacred fact of life. That's exactly what the King Charles painting is trying and failing to do. The art we create says everything we need to know about power. Whether it's a postmodern representation of a decaying state, an in-joke with the artist who created it, or a futile attempt to showcase authority. Similar to Nietzsche's death of God, we are living through a death of authority. The death of a common understanding for who should rule us, why should they rule us, and why do we need to be ruled? In a way, we've become ungovernable. Not literally, but ideologically. There are very few ideas now that transcend everybody, and even fewer ways to get us to all work together. Half the US thinks that Biden wants all their kids to be trans, and the other half think that we're facing starvation and a burning planet this summer. How we move forward, I have no idea. All I know is that there has never been a more exciting time to be alive. And if you kill yourself, if you try to tap out, you're gonna miss all the action. Okay, so authority does still exist. We can get bombed. We can get nuked. Like, no amount of disrespect is gonna stop Putin from nuking us. It won't be a classic nuking, though. It won't be like a big, scary, ideological opposition nuking. It will be like a mass shooting. It'll be like the same kind of cultural forces that cause someone to do a mass act of violence. You know, it's not ideological. It's just derangement. It's just insanity. You know, imagine like if Columbine, but they have nukes. That's what we're facing. That's where things are going. That's where we're going. Maybe just, move out of the cities. Move out of the cities.